Good afternoon. This is Newberg Mayor Rick Rogers, and today is Sunday, June 19th, 2022. I hope this message finds you and your loved ones happy, healthy, and safe. Today is a day to commemorate, to celebrate, to reflect, and maybe, just maybe, to hope. In what might be considered a cosmic convergence, others have certainly commented on this, today is both Father's Day and Juneteenth. Happy day to all fathers, to be fathers, those who have longed to be fathers, and future fathers in our community. Happy End to Slavery Day to all. Happy Black Independence Day. With so much to commemorate, let me start with the fathers. Well, you may all know the origin of the special day, and I apologize if you do, but I did not. So using that at times useful tool that we call the internet, I learned that Father's Day is generally attributed to the efforts of Sonora Smart Dodd of Spokane, Washington. Sonora was believed to have gotten the inspiration for the day of celebration after hearing a Mother's Day sermon in 1909. Sonora's father, a Civil War veteran, raised 5 children alone after his wife, the children's mother, died in childbirth. After numerous states began to recognize the day, President Calvin Coolidge promoted the idea in 1924, President Lyndon Johnson issued a proclamation in 1966, and President Richard Nixon signed legislation in 1972 declaring the third Sunday in June Father's Day. Again, happy Father's Day to all. By the way, the first Father's Day in Spokane was celebrated on June 19th, Juneteenth, 1910. And now Juneteenth, but first a disclaimer. As some critics might point out on this subject, I am not qualified to either teach or preach. However, as Maya Angelou reminds us, when we learn, teach, when we get, give. Therefore, I feel that I'm qualified, even obligated, to remind both others and myself about the meaning of the holiday. As you may well know, and I apologize if you do, Juneteenth, a contraction of the words June and 19th, commemorates what is largely considered to be the end of slavery in our United States. In 1865, Union General Gordon Granger proclaimed freedom from slavery in Galveston, Texas. The General's proclamation came nearly 3 years after President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation. Also known as Freedom Day, Jubilee Day, Emancipation Day, and Black Independence Day, Juneteenth became a federal holiday in 2021. Again, happy Juneteenth. The reason I mention the cosmic convergence is that the next time Father's Day and Juneteenth are celebrated on the same day will be 11 years from now in 2033. That Father's Day and Juneteenth fall on the same day in 2022 is so sweet, but then again, it also can be considered historically bitter. Maybe someone is trying to tell us something. Well, I'm not going to bring up, what I'm going to bring up next may well be uncomfortable. If you do not want to hear about the historic and devastating effects of slavery on families, on fathers, on children, on mothers, then please sign off now. Now, I may not need to remind you, but I am also reminding myself, reteaching myself, if you will, that West African enslaved peoples, largely from the areas now known as Senegal, the Gambia, Ivory Coast or Cote d'Ivoire, and Guinea-Bissau, were captured, chained, and forced into the holds of slave ships beginning in the early 1600s. After unimaginable suffering, the families finally landed in the New World, where they would be sold at auction to the highest, I'm sorry to say, white bidder. From that point until the ends of their natural lives, or often by unnatural causes, these people, these brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers, would toil for the benefit of the slave owners. They would labor under the unrelenting, whip-carrying oversight of their masters. The family structures of the captured souls were destroyed. This is where it becomes relevant. A father, for a slight or perceived slight, could be, quote, sold down the river at a moment's notice, never to see his wife or children again. Even marriage was a construct that was not observed on the plantation. Procreation was used to add to the stock of slaves and therefore further enrich the slave owner. It was certainly not above many a slave owner to take slave women, mothers, forcibly. What has been termed America's original sin, although our native friends might argue differently, lasted until, as mentioned earlier, 1865. Up to that point, an estimated 4 million Black Africans worked without compensation, formal education, marriage, physical safety, family structure, food security, or the ability to own a single thing. Again, I apologize if these, quote, uncomfortable truths about this, quote, peculiar institution are painful. But as I mentioned, we will not have the chance to reflect on Father's Day and Juneteenth together for another 11 years. Over this next decade plus, I hope we fathers can teach our children not just what it means to be a good and caring man, but to be a good and caring human being, respectful of all others. As our pledge says, with liberty and justice for all. Rest in peace, Dee. Thank you for listening. If you would like to reach me, please do so at rick.rogers@newbergoregon.gov. Be well.